welcome to SJU. We had a meeting, and so we're going to wing it. That's the title, I'm told, that exists literally in this video right now. So you know what? Let's just roll on into that wave. Spencer Gilbert.
Good morning.
Danielle Radford.
Good morning.
Dan Murrell.
Hello.
What a lucky lady I am. Look who I'm surrounded by on the daily. He's got fancy coffee. She's got the brains. He's got the hat. I've got these glasses. And we're moving on. We're going to talk about, literally, I'm going to read my script to you because I like to break the fourth wall. I guess there's no fourth wall when you're hosting.
Huh.
Yeah.
I operate
Existential question. Yeah.
There is. It depends on what kind of hosting it is. Like,
Okay.
interviewing would be weird if, like, you know, someone's interviewing, like, the Prime Minister of the UK and then they just go, like,
Jim face.
just Jim face to the camera.
I would actually like to see that. Couple of political interviews. What is this guy saying?
Is anybody watching Office Jim overthrows the Venezuelan government?
No, but I love it.
The Jack Ryan series.
I thought it was like a meme.
I was really excited. Yeah, I was going to go
And
Google
you'll
that.
love Jack Ryan season 2. We gotta do something about Venezuela, you guys.
Yeah. You guys can already see that I wasn't lying to you. So here are my prompts for today. Hey, Danielle, what do you want to talk about?
I'm going to need my phone for this one. I want to talk about a trailer that came out. It's a new comedy, and I'm very excited for comedies. And it's going to be in theaters like a real movie. It stars Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae. It's called Lovebirds.
Can we talk about Thirsty Kumail? No, I don't want to do that.
Did we talk about that?
Okay, sorry.
I don't know if we talked
did
about
a
that on
little
air,
bit, yeah.
but yeah, no, sexiest man on the internet.
Yes.
I found it very upsetting.
Well, he admitted it was a lot of like having other people make his steak.
No,
and,
just
like,
aesthetically. Like that, the head and that body. Just,
You did?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you find it?
thirst trappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty thirst trappy. But yeah, so the movie looks really funny. It's like about two people who are in love, and then all of a sudden they get into like this weird, crazy, like someone like takes their car and uses it to murder someone.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And then the hijinks ensue, and at one point there's like a weird Eyes Wide Shut looking scene, and it's them like trying to figure out like this big murder conspiracy while also being like a super funny comedy. And it's directed by Showalter, and so I'm super psyched for it.
Nice.
looks
I thought
funny.
you were going to say Guns Akimbo, which I watched.
Oh, Guns Akimbo looks
Guns Akimbo
pretty great
stars
as well.
Daniel Radcliffe as this like loser who lives like in his apartment and is just kind of like depressed. And there's a show. It's kind of like Series 7. There's a show where you like get strangers and you have to like kill other people. And he wakes up with guns bolted to both of his hands. Literally, he's like trying to open the door with like two
Like
guns.
trying to put on pants.
And he has to kill Samara Weaving, who is the lead of Ready or Not, which is one of my favorite movies from last year. And it's literally just Daniel Radcliffe running around in his underwear with two guns bolted to each hand.
Oh my God. I love his choices.
In a weird
I do too.
dystopian future murder show.
And
Yeah,
she gets
I'm
to
not
keep
being
her accent,
sarcastic.
and yet he does not for some reason, which I thought was a little.
Wait, she gets what?
So she gets to have her accent, and
Yeah.
like he doesn't. So he's doing
Interesting.
full-on American accent.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe he wanted to stretch. Not sarcastically, I think the two biggest Harry Potter fans, notably in our office, are the two of us, right?
Sure. Well, it's fading by the tweet.
Well, it's fading by the tweet. Well, you know what? Maybe I do have something I want to talk about. Do you think is your affection for Harry Potter fading, or wasn't what I was going to ask. I was going to say I also love Daniel Radcliffe's post-Potter choices. That's not sarcastic, but is your affection for the author fading, or is your affection for the whole series fading? Are you rethinking
the whole series? I mean, I think, look, the books to me are kind of not unimpeachable, but they're like fantastic children's novels that maybe don't even need the kind of scrutiny that we put them through as old more literary people.
More or less.
Yeah. So I don't know. Look, I've been burned so many times by like every sci-fi author I grew up loving turned out to be like, oh, Isaac Asimov was called like the man with 1,000 hands because he was so gropey, and like
man.
Orson Scott Card is just full-blown Looney Tunes, and like can anyone just not be an asshole and like and write great books at the same time?
It's a good question.
I hate that trope of like the author that like the recluse that sucks and loses touch with actual human beings. But man, I see JK going down that road and I don't like it.
I don't like it either. Yeah. I don't like it at all, man. It really breaks my heart because it feels antithetical to the series, particularly on initial examination. I know people have re-examined it over the years and parsed it a lot, yourself included.
Yeah, man. Harry's a cop.
Well, well, he's just a straight up narc.
Mm-hmm. He could do anything. The boy who could do anything
He just became a cop.
Magic DEA, you know.
Yeah.
Putting Weasleys in jail for a living.
Is Harry Potter the baddest boy of the bad boys?
Yeah. I would watch a Magic Bad Boy.
Just him and Hermione.
Dan Murrell, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about MacGruber! So the peacock. Sorry, just peacock.
Thank you.
That's right. That's how we prefer it.
Every time you just fire it up,
yeah, has
mine's a little hysterical.
Announced its inaugural development slate, and the standout to me is MacGruber, starring Will Forte is coming back. He's a co-writer. Jorma Taccone is a co-writer and executive producer. John Solomon is a writer and executive producer. Jorma Taccone is directing it as well. I just want to read you the synopsis.
Okay.
After rotting in prison for over a decade, America's ultimate hero and uber patriot MacGruber is finally released. His mission, to take down a mysterious villain from his past. Brigadier General Enos Queeth. With the entire world in his crosshairs, MacGruber, Vicky, and Piper must race against time to defeat the forces of evil, only to find that evil may be lurking within. Dun, dun, dun.
Like within his body?
Who knows?
Yeah. MacGruber!
I'm so excited about this. It's the first thing is done that's made me even slightly excited.
Yeah.
It's MacGruber.
The Pagok has the BSG reboot. Am I making? Is it?
Who knows?
Is it Pagok?
We need a big board.
We do need a big board.
Yeah. Is it the bird?
Yes.
Okay, two quick things. That is being done by Sam Esmail, and I'm pretty excited about that because I loved BSG, and I think he's going to bring an interesting take to it. I have a lot of questions about the continuity, which I can parse later, and I plan to. Sam.
It's a reboot, no?
Okay,
we don't need to talk.
We do. I think we do. Danielle.
My understanding is that it takes place somewhere else in the universe.
Yeah,
but it's not a reboot.
Let's talk about why that doesn't work. Everyone else is dead. That's the whole premise of the show.
Right, yeah.
Like that is the entire. Anyway, but then they found Will and Razor. There was the other ship. So I don't know if it's that ship or if there was another secret ship that was out there.
It's the Tailies.
Is it?
It's like
There were a lot of memorial battle cruisers that got turned into museums. You know, just like you can go to San Diego and go on 4 of them.
Yeah.
They were all on their, parades. Their Macy's Space Day parades when shit went down, and so 4 more series.
I'm curious about that. I think some people are curious about the Saved by the Bell one. But here's the second point I wanted to make. Joe Starr hates peacocks. It was really, he was walking around like, they're terrible birds.
They're not good birds, Roth.
They're not good birds. What? They
what
are
good
rude.
Birds? I could do without birds as a phylum.
Against birds.
I mean,
it's just geese for me.
Yeah.
Because I used to walk before they made the game, which I was very grateful for. I used to have to walk through a place with a lot of geese, and they will try to murder you.
Yeah.
They don't like you.
As a child, I got bit on the ass by a geese.
Right.
A goose.
What's a bird ever done for you, Roth?
Well, they feed my animal daily. Yeah. My cat. Well, she doesn't kill birds, but they're in a can. There's a dead bird usually because I feed her the turkey pate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
there we go.
They're sustaining the life form that I like to cuddle with.
I think we're overlooking Brigadier Commander Enos Queeth. I was very clear that I wanted to discuss MacGruber, and we've done very little discussing MacGruber.
I thought you were on.
No, I never. So they said that they think the whole team is going to be back, which could include Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Now, as we all know, his character from the movie Dieter Kumpf
Yes.
was was very thoroughly killed at the end of MacGruber. Spoiler alert! But I would like to speculate that Brigadier Commander Enos Queeth is perhaps the twin brother of or a clone of Dieter Kumpf, and that we're going to get Val Kilmer back, which makes me even more excited. They say that they think Ryan Phillippe might be back.
Ooh.
Nice.
He's around.
I mean.
That's great.
What is he doing?
He's walking around with celery up his butt is what he's doing. I'm so excited for this. Good job, Peacock.
Good
job,
Finally,
Peacock.
they also want their own social network. The series, well, not the actual series, but it's going to be an anthology series about tech companies, and their first one is going to be Hatching Twitter, which is going to be a dramatization of the book.
Oh, dramatization.
Hatching
So they're
Twitter.
like, it'll be a social network.
Yeah, TV anthology series, and the first one's about Twitter.
Wait.
That sounds
stop.
terrible.
Wait a minute. I need to get into that a little bit more.
Yes.
How many? So a series of episodes per season, like 6 to 8 episodes per season,
Yes.
are just going to be about Twitter,
It's like American Crime. No, it's like American Crime Story.
right?
Oh, so
And the first season is
it's
about,
about Twitter. Okay, not
Okay.
each episode.
Not
is a
each
different
episode.
startup, and it's
Overall,
like,
no,
we made a pitch deck for a venture capital firm.
But
and this guy in a
overall,
vest
it's
gave us $1
about
billion.
The story of
companies
Vine.
behaving badly and technology gone awry.
Okay, first of all, that's a bird on a bird, A. And then 2,
Are they going to do Comcast?
No.
that's my point. You're going to talk about technology companies behaving awry? Call
Comcast,
shenanigans.
NBC, Peacock.
Wait, I want to make sure. Do you feel complete on MacGruber?
I mean, I could sit here and throw Brigadier Commander Enos Queeth theories all day long, but in the interest of time, I guess we should move on.
Oh, we'll come back to you for some more. Spencer.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
I want to pour one out, Roth.
Okay.
I want to pour one out because Benioff and Weiss Confederate is confirmed dead.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
I thought that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, but it was, it was not official until today. They've moved on to other, more interesting slavery fan fictions.
Yeah.
You can see them on their live journal. And, I just want to, I don't want to pile on Benioff and Weiss. They've suffered enough from the hands of the fans. But I wanted to talk about some other of the worst possible TV premises I could find.
Okay.
And we'll see
Yes.
how Confederate maybe compares.
I like it.
Where did you find these?
The first Google link that showed up, like the same way anyone does research. So, this is non-reality division because
Okay.
I could throw a bunch of reality
yeah.
shows
Oh,
out
yeah.
at
Wasn't
you.
there one about The Last American Virgin years ago that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were producing?
Were they trying to deflower her?
I think they were. It quickly died.
Okay.
But I may just be making that up. But it may also be true.
They had an interest in The Last Virgin. So yeah, I was thinking like shows you may recall, like The Littlest Groom.
Yes. That's the first show that popped into my head was The Littlest Groom.
Maybe Armed and Famous was a personal favorite of mine, where they deputized different celebrities, not just Steven Seagal.
No, Latoya Jackson was in that, wasn't she? Yeah.
You're
Wait,
famous, have a gun.
What was The Littlest Groom? Can you
can
say
figure it out.
I think you should say the premise.
Yeah, it's in the title. So other titles that kind of have their premise in them. Tell me what you think about. Do y'all remember 1965 NBC My Mother the Car?
Oh, yeah.
Are y'all familiar with the Jerry Van Dyke starred as David Crabtree? His mother Gladys dies and is reincarnated as his 1928 Porter automobile.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, notably. My mother, did you watch the show?
It's on right after Car 54. Where are you? There's a lot of car-related things in the 60s.
Yeah. The Ugliest Girl in Town.
Oh, wow.
1968. Now, the premise there, talk about a bird on a bird. There was like 7, it was like a turducken of a premise, because this guy, he's an ad exec. He falls in love with a British model who dumps him, and he's like upset about that. So his brother, who's a photographer, like he just needs to get out some stress. So he dresses up like a hippie to like have fun with his brother who's a photographer. Those photos get like passed to a modeling agency who's like, this ugly girl is exactly the look we need, and so he gets flown out to London, where the girl who broke his heart is working at the same modeling agency.
Oh my God! Was the pilot
What
7 hours long?
It's got like a 7-hour long. It's all in the theme song, or like the opening credits that then has a theme song, but it's like a minute and a half long of just explanation of like, this is Timothy and his brother Gene. Gene loses his money gambling, so they're stuck in London where he does a photo shoot. It's like, we're still.
Explain this industry to me. I need. So what year was it?
There were 3 channels on television. That's the.
It was when all hippies look like, cut your hair, you look like a girl.
You look like a girl. The
that's-
show.
But then again, somebody came up with the concept for bosom buddies, and then
Which
that was a hit.
Yeah. Another big trend that we're moving on to, those are both 60s ideas. Now we're in the 70s and early 80s. 1972 CBS, Me and the Chimp. Just Me and the Chimp. Now, this is about a chimp named Buttons.
I would watch.
Buttons did not talk, didn't have superpowers.
Boo.
I prefer it that way.
Just a chimp. Just a chimp. He lives with people, so it's funny.
Yeah.
But that is kind of funny. I mean,
Okay.
notably.
Well,
I don't know. I like that one.
it wasn't enough to sustain more than one season, much like this other show on NBC, Mr. Smith. Now, unlike Buttons the chimp, Mr. Smith is a genius. He got a super serum that gave him an IQ of 265. Smarter than most humans, the orangutan formerly known as Cha-Cha was given the name Mr. Smith and a job in the United States government as a
Respect on Cha-Cha's name.
advising top-level politicians on classified subjects.
How is that not a hit?
It
Ahead of
wasn't.
its time.
It wasn't. But we went ape crazy in the 70s and 80s, man. If you had an ape, you had a show. Ones you probably heard of, Cop Rock.
Cop
Yeah,
Rock.
I loved
Yeah.
Cop Rock. I
Cop Rock's
loved
fantastic.
unabashedly Cop Rock and Whole High. Those were my jams for very horrible musicals.
Yeah.
What about Viva Laughlin, the Hugh Jackman musical show that lasted like 5 episodes?
I
You
don't
remember
think I
that?
saw it,
There was
but
a
I'm gonna
musical
do it
show
now.
called Viva Laughlin that was set in Laughlin, Nevada, and it was about, Laughlin. And Hugh Jackman was like, he wasn't in every episode, but he was in the first episode singing and dancing, and it lasted very shortly.
Yeah. Well, Cop Rock, we all know it, but our younger viewers may not remember. It was basically Law and Order SVU, the musical. So they're singing about baby killing and fabricating evidence and like just the grimmest possible subjects, but they all break into dance and song.
was so
Randy
bad.
Newman wrote the pilot music and theme
Wow.
song. So props for Mr. Newman.
Stop in the name of love.
He didn't perform it. Final one. I just love the name and pitch, and I refuse to learn anything more about it. 1992 on Fox. Whoops. An ensemble comedy about the least likely survivors of a nuclear accident. Whoops.
So who's the cast of characters?
I refuse to learn any more than the logo and title. I love that there was a show made called Whoops.
That's almost as good as Homeboys in Outer Space.
I did think about putting that one on there, but that's like achieved kind of cult status. Like,
And I also got like 3 seasons?
yeah, that was on for more than 1 year, and they had a space hoopty, and it was just.
Speaking of Confederate, wasn't there one that was like the Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer that
Yes.
was about like a slave who lived with Abraham Lincoln?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, also on the CW or UPN or one of them, I forget.
I think
but
it was UPN.
Yeah, it was about like a guy or maybe it was like it was not a great relationship, and he was like and Lincoln was a character, but it didn't last long.
Yeah, that's insane. All of that's insane. Here's what I want to talk about. This industry legitimately is insane because there are really good ideas out there and well-written scripts that just never get made, like a lot of them, or that get developed and then sit on a shelf, or pilots that don't go. And then there's like, can you explain the dichotomy to me?
Well,
you grew up here. You were drinking
knows.
industry juice from the time you were in Emin. That's just distilled industry jargon. And
This is coffee because we have a whole other rant about the coffee at the office that I'm sure everyone will love.
Oh,
that
yeah.
We now have we only have flavored coffee.
it's really weird flavors.
Yeah, like pecan pie coffee and blueberry strudel and stuff like that.
And there's also a very menacing clown on the front who has a really nasty grin.
Yeah.
And then it's a Kruger, so eventually he just looks like he got shot through the forehead
As all
because
clowns
of
should be, yes.
We definitely.
Anyways, I had to start rolling my own. But the point is that nobody knows anything, and the higher you rise, the less you know. And people are just throwing darts at a wall, and sometimes you get a bosom buddies out of like the dumbest idea, and sometimes you get the ugliest girl in town. So nobody knows.
Which I would still like to see.
The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer aired on UPN in 1998 for 5 episodes. Here's the pitch.
Okay.
A black English nobleman named Desmond Pfeiffer, chased out of England due to gambling debts, becomes President Abraham Lincoln's valet, or valet. In the show, he serves... Oh my God.
Keep reading.
In the show, he serves as the intelligent and erudite backbone of a Civil War-era White House populated by louts and drunkards.
I bet he's very articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chi McBride played Desmond Pfeiffer. And yeah, it didn't last long. I wonder why.
I don't know. Think of a single reason.
Yeah.
Well, that's all very interesting. I am confused about the Confederate thing because I thought that was dead a long, long time ago. I just don't like. Was it just bubbling? Was it just brewing in the back? What was happening, Spencer?
Confirmed it at TCA, like the executive. I think is all.
Oh, it was a TCA confirmation?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to know about TCAs?
No.
I have a TCA story.
Oh, tell us.
Yeah, about HBO Max.
Okay.
Well, first of all, they're making the Green Lantern show that Greg Berlanti's doing. Mm-hmm. Kevin Riley said they're in the early stages, but the series so far is going to span several decades and focus on the origin story of 2 major Green Lanterns on Earth while going into the story of a Sinestro in space. Mm-hmm. So you got that going on. But here's the deal with because it's on HBO Max, and so people are asking about, well, what about DC Universe?
Right.
And they're like, well, there's no plans currently to fold DC Universe into HBO Max.
Sure.
But here's what they said, because they're like, well, it's a Green Lantern show, and you already have a bunch of people on DC Universe, so don't you think the people in DC Universe would want to watch the Green Lantern show? Like, why do they have to pay for both? And here's what he said, quote, "You can expect that the DC video will be in the HBO Max experience, but the deeper fan experience of DCU, I think, can work in tandem. We're working out what those mechanics are. I'm not opposed to giving those fans, meaning DC Universe subscribers, a preview of our show, letting them evangelize, whether that's one episode or maybe even a day to preview the whole series, because they're really the ones who will get out and talk about it. So we really want to figure out how to honor those fans, and we've got to figure out the 2 subscriptions, and we haven't done that yet." So I love it. It's just like, hey, DC Universe fans, you're paying for DC stuff, pay for this. And it's like, or you can, it reminds me of the lawyer in Jurassic Park. It's like, maybe we'll have a coupon day. I don't know. So right now, if you subscribe to DC Universe, but you want to see the Green Lantern show, you are also going to have a subscription to HBO Max right now.
I'm sure they'll only evangelize with positivity and understanding of paywalls and subscription service rights issues.
Well, because
Doom Patrol is also going to be. Yeah, Doom Patrol is also like their second season will be on both.
It's going to be on both.
Yeah,
I just think that what they're saying isn't true because they're going to have to fold it together at a certain point. The only awkward piece of that is that the DC. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the DC it has actual comics on it as well, right? That app. So I think that's probably where they're hitting a complication, but there's no way it makes sense to have both of those. It just doesn't, because a lot of the DC content is what's going to get people to subscribe to and Friends. HBO Max, because they're getting Friends back when
next year. But I had a sub story B. One thing.
I also had one.
Was it Harry Potter?
No, it was just Joey. That was a dumb idea for a show.
That's true.
It was a dumb idea.
It was really dumb.
I mean, like, I guess I could have seen at the end of that series, because remember Joey became really like one of the most popular character towards the end of the series. There were like phases where the different characters were popular, and then towards the end, everybody loved Joey.
Well, because they felt bad because he kept getting like. People would fall in love with him, and then they'd go to Ross.
And the whole thing. And so on paper, I could see it to some degree. And plus, like, probably the rest of them were off thinking they were going to have big movie careers and all of that. And maybe he just didn't. But no, it was a terrible show. It was a really bad, poorly executed show.
Extras. Fantastic.
So good.
Matt LeBlanc playing himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Extras, I was going to bring up, conversely, Extras is a great show.
Wait. Extras is the Ricky Gervais show.
Wait.
No, sorry, episodes.
Sorry, episodes.
Episodes.
It's the same show.
Yes.
Episodes is the Matt LeBlanc
Yes.
show where he
2E
plays himself.
shows with former TV stars playing themselves.
And there's like two British creators
Yeah.
who come and they want to adapt their series, which is very, very British. But then, like, I love how it just gets whittled away with notes.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's a terrible bastardization of itself by the end that is not a hit. Mm-hmm. And that's how it happens. That's probably how Joey happened.
Yeah.
But
Dan Murrell, what do you got?
The sub-story B was, if you've noticed, the other thing they asked about was with HBO Max, is Warner owns Harry Potter, and you would think that they'd be leaning very much into Harry Potter, but they're not, and there's a reason for that. It's because
License.
in late 2018, Warner signed a exclusive broadcast digital deal with NBC Universal for Harry Potter until 2025. So Harry Potter, unless they can strike a deal with NBC Universal, is locked into them. And honestly, if you're NBC Universal, who owns Peacock,
Yeah.
why would you give them Harry
would
Potter
not.
as a tool to use against you?
So are they going to be able to run it on Peacock, or it has to be on?
I mean, technically, they signed a distribution deal with Peacock.
They might want to just bury it.
It's just mafia stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I like
because they've got the whole Wizarding World at Universal.
Yeah, it
at
makes
that
sense.
time, a year ago, it seemed like great synergy. But now it's like they have to either negotiate with Universal and NBC to get streaming rights, or it's going to be 5 years before you can watch Harry Potter on HBO Max, which is actually a thing because on Disney Plus right now, currently, you cannot watch Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, or Ant-Man and the Wasp because they're signed to Netflix to go back later this year. But the MCU Spider-Man films, both of them, there's been no streaming deal reached because Sony owns them, so you don't have that on Disney Plus, and there's no plans in the foreseeable
Sony's
future.
the only one that's not doing it.
And the Incredible Hulk also, there's a Universal deal that they haven't reached. So this is going to be, I think, a consistent problem with these streaming services is they all, because the old way of doing business, signed deals or didn't sign deals with different studios. So, Disney Plus is, like all the Marvel stuff. Like, not quite. Not quite.
And Sony's the only. Let's see. We got Warner Brothers.
They sold Crackle, so
Paramount-
Crackle Snap
Chicken
Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Paramount in prime Paramount fashion, bless, is got a cable network where you're like, oh, darling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
they're
love
now part
watching
of
Cops on there.
CBS All Access.
what
That's
do you-
not the same,
That's
Paramount,
Viacom.
yeah, it's Viacom, yeah.
which is also Paramount.
Well, kind
Sort
of.
of.
I mean, it's Viacom.
But they could sell to themselves the streaming
could.
rights for
Yeah.
Paramount stuff.
I guess they could.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, question. That's
that
a good
legal?
question. I think it is.
It involves a corporation, so I'm
Yeah.
going to say yes.
No, I think it is because
It's not legal now. It will be next legislative session.
But where that gets, I think that's sort of what got, in a very different way, Walking Dead into trouble, right? Because they were essentially selling to themselves, and
Right,
they
to
were
screw the
At a
creators.
discount.
to screw the creators
Yeah.
because they were selling at a discount
Right.
in order to screw the creators out of their points, which I don't know how that would work with streaming.
Yeah.
Now I'm fascinated. Someone figure it out and put it in a comment. Should do my job for me. Danielle,
Yes.
do you have a point B2 story that you want to talk about?
No, I think that was my major one. It's
feel
just I'm really excited to see comedies in theaters. At Game Night was one of my favorite movies when that came out. I like Tag. I enjoyed. So I'm very excited about the resurgence of comedy.
But do you feel like with this one and Game Night, it's they're now needing to make them into insane farces where somebody shoots somebody?
Yep. Absolutely.
It
Yep.
can't just be we're the ski school next to the rich ski school. we're gonna have to win the ski race
No,
at the end.
these-
No, we need to.
We're really in the 80s.
Yeah.
Your evil blonde guy has to shoot someone now. It's not enough that he wants to take your girl.
Those movies, were those comedies? I never thought of those as comedies.
Which one? Ski school or
the
Ski Patrol? Because they're
Ski
both
Patrol,
hilarious.
all of the
All
we're-
the skiverse.
all of the we're at the location and shenanigans, we're at the police academy
Yeah.
was a series of comedy. You know what I'm
Allegedly.
well, I've talked myself into a hole as always. So here we go. SJU.
Yourself into a Gutenberg.
Gutenberg.
You fell into the Gutenberg trap.
I did fall into the Gutenberg. It's a classic. Do we have other things that we want to talk about, or do we want to complete with the people? Is anyone watching this?
Yes.
Like, really?
Yeah.
What, I'm curious. I love you guys. I can't believe we're just having literally, we're just having a conversation.
We could have done this in the writer's room.
We could have done. Well, these are the types of conversations.
Will the horny ski movie make a comeback?
I don't know. Discuss.
That's what we just officially titled the episode.
Will the horny ski movie
make
a comeback? Discuss. I think it will.
Okay, good.
I think it will.
Yeah,
I feel
make
good
it
about
happen.
it. We'll make it happen together. We should call to action. We should do some good in the world first, and your number one priority.
We did have fan questions. Are we done?
I thought we were done.
Okay, great.
But I don't have to
Type
be.
34.
It's like 34 minutes. We can ask one, but it's serious. Do you want to do a serious one?
Sure.
From Victor Grubbs.
I like that. That's a good question.
I like this question too. What is the one aspect of movies that you're most passionate about? Box office, sound design, dialogue, performances, craft services. I like that you added craft services. Anything. If we're on the set, craft services, I would say across the
Craft
board.
services rules the set, yeah.
But if we weren't on the set and we were just watching the film, I think that's an interesting. I'm personally unable to parse those apart. Like, I would excise box office because that's just like, oh, it's notable about the industry. But that to me isn't what's interesting about a movie. My favorite thing about a movie, honestly, is probably just when it surprises me, when I think it does something really clever or something I didn't see coming, or just, I've talked about this in Uncut Gems. It's a really small thing, but I've told a bunch of people to watch this movie for this reason. A relationship, the movie starts, there's a very antagonistic relationship. And then about 15 to 20 minutes in, they're a very intimate connection is revealed between these two characters, and it's never deeply explained what happened to get them there, and you're left with that question not only the entire movie but after the movie ends. And I talked with a friend of mine just about this last night. We had very different interpretations about how they got there and the nature of their relationship. I just thought it was so clever and smart, and it was completely, the story and the character were revealed 100% through action. And I think that's what the Safdie brothers, if I'm mispronouncing that, forgive me, that's one of the things they're doing really, really well. But they are torturing my ears with sound design. I mean, just straight, it's like Gitmo stuff. It really, oh my God.
I did have one more thing, speaking of the Safdie brothers. So they put out today a short that they did while they were on the set called Goldman versus Silverman, which is Sandler versus Benny as street performers.
Oh, wow.
And you can find, it's a short film that they made. You can find it on their Vimeo.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I did a rant.
Yeah. Well, I hate to piggyback off that, but I think what's so amazing about movies is that it is kind of this combination web of different crafts and different things that's almost inseparable. Like you just like the roles on a film, like director, writer, actor are all collaborating. It is like sound and vision and story and all these things at once that I think makes movies special. But I think it would be story if I had to pick one. I'm fascinated by storytelling, and if it's like, the way that those things work together of character, dialogue, theme, pacing, stuff like that. But what's most interesting to me about movies is the interconnectedness between all of it, rather than like piecing it apart or picking it apart.
Yeah,
Same.
I think passionate about, I would say interested in would be things like editing. Obviously, that's just a thing I'm inherently interested in. But passionate about for me is writing. If you've watched my reviews on, particularly Transformers and stuff, or like I'm a sucker for a great script. It's like I am very passionately, particularly I have a very visceral reaction to bad writing. Because a lot of times, and I don't mean like weird writing, I don't mean like Book of Henry, which is like, what the hell is going on with this movie? Like, that's not what I define as bad writing. That's like, this is something that's just odd or weird, or like The Happening even. It's not bad writing, it's just strange, it's odd, it's experimental, and it didn't work. I just mean like lazy writing, like cliche-ridden, lazy dialogue, story plot points that don't make sense. It's why I had a problem with the last Star Wars trilogy. Was first and foremost, I just think it was an example of bad writing across films, none of them connected to each other. And I think that it's avoidable in large parts, because listen, if you get to the point where you're writing a screenplay, you probably know how to write at least a little bit, or you think you would do. Or even if you don't, there's someone above you, hopefully, or an executive or a producer or someone that should be reading your script that knows what good writing is. So when a movie
Their
comes out,
assistant is reading that script,
or
and
an assistant, or somebody, somebody
assistant.
should be. But that's the thing. That's why I get so angry. It's like when bad writing makes it to the screen, I see it largely and often as laziness. Laziness on the part of the people behind the film, and I just hate that because it's cynical and it shows just a real lack of care for the audience that's paying their money to come and see your movie. Not every movie's going to work, but I think you at least owe it to an audience to try your best to make a good one. And so bad writing, really, I very passionately respond in a negative way when I think it's bad, and not just bad but lazy. On the flip side, if a script is incredibly well written, I just love that movie even more because, like there's bad scripts, and then most of the scripts that are written are pretty good, and then sometimes they can be elevated to really good. It's rare to come across a great script and a great screenplay, and I love, like, Jojo Rabbit is one. I love that movie because I think it starts with a great screenplay.
It's interesting how sometimes a really great script doesn't translate to a great movie, and an okay script does. That's where I'm really blown away by the power of a very visionary director. Danielle, your favorite part of the movies?
Well, so other than I think we're all like super into writing and stuff, but something that carried through from my time like doing theater and stuff, I love costume design. So much of a story, it's not just about making sure it goes in with the time and all that other stuff. Like, you can tell the story of a scene through costume design. You can tell relationships that characters have with each other by the way that, the costume designers do things like that, where it's like, okay, well, these two are a couple, so we'll put something complementary in both of their outfits that ties them together visually. Or these two are having a discordant time, and so we're going to make it so that their clothes are clashing and not just them. And it's something that's on a subconscious level that a lot of folks don't pick up on, but you feel it. You can tell, like, a great example, if anyone else is as interested in this as I am, is there's a website called Tom and Lorenzo. They mostly do, like, a lot of fashion stuff. But for Mad Men, because of the costumer, I believe it's Janie Bryant, because of how specific she was in costuming, they would have 2 reviews up every week, where one of them would be a review of the episode, and then one of them would be them doing deep dives into the costume designer's work. It is, to me, like, that area of it is so incredibly fascinating. From the first time I started learning about dramaturgy and stuff when I was in college, so.
It's great.
That costume designer had to love them. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, to actually get acknowledged. That's great. I love that you brought up that detail. Thank you, Danielle. I'm going to say 3 things really quickly. 1, the word of the day, as you might have noticed, is parse, because I think I said it 7 times.
I was going to say dramaturgy. What's
Dramaturgy.
that?
I like
Dramaturgy is, okay, so there, when you're, it is an actual job of someone to say, this play, Little Women, is set in this era. Okay, what's happening in politics?
Yeah.
What's the difference? What was $1 then compared to what is $1 now? What was happening in fashion? What was happening? It is someone's job to build essentially a binder full of homework for everyone to read so that they are fully immersed in this world. So they're essentially a researcher and doing a lot of history research that would be applicable to whatever you're doing.
Yeah. I love this. There's one of my favorites. I know I've mentioned before that I have a big thing about David O. Selznick, producer David O. Selznick. But one of the things that I love about Gone with the Wind is he was on set one day, and I think some of the minor support characters were wearing silk petticoats. And they were like, why are we wearing, this is such a waste of money. Why are we wearing silk petticoats? No one's going to know. And he just said, you're going to know.
Yep.
And he had that attention to detail and that much investment in the process. So I thought that was pretty interesting and great. And technically it's also a big waste of money, but hey, we got it. Burn Atlanta. We're going to spend the rest of January sharing some links where this is indelicate of me. I'm going to come back to this.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to say what segment 3 would have been, and that Joe Starr is going to make a promise of you right now, promise to you that you will be getting this story. I don't know what it is yet. I only have the headline. Segment 3, man requests trial by combat with Japanese swords to settle dispute with Iowa ex-wife.
Yeah.
Wait.
This is the sequel to Marriage Story. You didn't know you wanted.
Start the clock.
Yeah.
So we can promise you that if you watch SJU for the rest of your life, you will eventually get that story. Now, we are going to be spending the rest of January sharing some links in the description where you can donate to help out the Australian wildfires. Please check out the links in the description below. Thank you guys so much for whoever did stick with us today, you're awesome. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed any of our shenanigans. Dan's done with me. He's given me the shut up, woman.
No, I'm not. I just like knowing what time it is. I was very
Gilbert.
subtle.
Spencer Gilbert.
Shut up, Roth.
Yes, thank you. Danielle.
Words.
Yes, words and bye.
Something nice about Ryan.
Brigadier
Oh,
Commander
Ryan, we love you.
Enos Queeth.
Enos Queeth.
Yeah.
That's it.
Enos
I think
Queeth.
that's it.